they're not going to have supermajority in all 50 states. So I land there.
hmm And and that's good there, because also that's something that Charles M. Blow mentioned as well, is that y'all don't have a problem when it's a majority white state. Y'all don't have you're not uncomfortable at all. But if as soon as, and he said all of these states for the longest have been majority white, and y'all didn't even bring it up. It was comfortable, it was normal for y'all. But now that there's a concerted effort to be a majority black state, now there's all this consternation, if you will, and that really does lead to, um, the it leads to, what are we going to do to ensure that proactively our plans do not get thwarted, um, because we're doing something, to benefit ourselves. And just to let you know, we are live on YouTube. I didn't even run the opening intro, because the conversation is really starting to get in here, and I want to get into it. Sean, you got your hand up. What's up?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on 2 points. First, what I got to say, and then the latter part of what you said. And anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Southwest is already fastly approaching, or already is, I'm not sure, but will soon be a majority Mexican state. And can anybody recall white people giving much pushback to that, complaining, running campaigns? They talk about illegal immigration, but they don't talk about the naturalized citizens there. And yeah, I've yet to see a steady stream of them being uncomfortable or fear propaganda going on about already approaching or already majority Southwest Mexican state. So here's that. The last part of what you said, yeah, that's something we're gonna have to, we can go. I suggest people to start taking notes so we can look at history, the little tactics and stunts they pull, and just the only thing we can do is have answers for everything. And when we're talking about our power and prosperity in this country and protecting that and fighting for that, nothing is off the table. And I hope you guys know what I mean by that. When it comes in regards to protecting our rights, we have a right to migrate, move where we want in this
Oh
country.
yeah.
We have a right to vote. We have a right to exercise the Constitution to our best advantage. And I take that as a grievous offense to anybody that tries to impede upon those rights. And my favorite saying is not the famous saying of "give me liberty or give me death."
hmm
Mine is, "you try to take my liberty, I'll give you death."
Oh
So
wow.
take it out how you like.
Right. I mean, it's like they almost don't want to give you the opportunity to, have that liberty. And yeah, and I'm just jumping all around on my notes, y'all. So y'all just get in where you fit in. What the lady, I don't remember her name. I don't think I wrote it down. What she talked about, and I'm glad Rella's in here, and I hope Rella is able to chime in on it, because this is right up your alley, it's down your road, Rella. Senate Bill 202. The lady said that right after January 6th, or that election, said immediately they come with this Senate Bill 202 with 5 new crimes inside that bill, which, one of them I think she listed was just to give somebody water while they're waiting in line to vote, is a crime, or to give them water, or to give them a ride. They've made 5 major things criminal, as a result of the that election in Georgia. And then we just, a couple of weeks ago, talked about the new information on the, voting rights bill, where now if they got something going on in the state, we have to leave it to the Justice Department to take it upon themselves to fight on our behalf. I mean, so what are some things, is what I'd like to know, is what are some things that we're going to be able to do so that we don't have to be confronted by the problem? How are we going to proactively sidestep, just even things like that, once this thing starts picking up steam? Anybody have any thoughts or questions on that?
Are you talking about when we take supermajority population or political control of the state, or are you saying going through the process of taking political control.
Yeah, as we proceed through the process, what are we, what's the game plan as far as like, because once it starts to
Well,
really pick up steam, then what? Then what are we going to do? That's what I'm getting at. Like, have we discussed measures to, to counteract what we already know they're going to do? They're going to do something.
correct. Well, we've been talking about this for almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We take, we reverse migrate to the states that we want to move to, right?
Mm-hmm.
We register to vote. Some can run for political office. Matter of fact, I encourage as many people as possible to run for political office.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the things we need to do. Teach other people about, if you know anything about, if you have any information on civics, teach our people civics.
Mm-hmm.
Teach our people about the state constitution and the thing, and also the different agencies that are in the state, the
Mm-hmm.
different offices. Like one of the most important offices is the state, the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State, they control the election process. They can take people off on or put them on the voters roll.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many different powers that these different agencies and political positions that they have. So we just have to know everything about what these states have to offer and all that good stuff.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead, Sean, and then let me see who is this that we got up here. The uncouth WS enemy. Let's hear from you, Sean, and then uncouth. You can go right after him.
Okay, as regards to countering, we need to get to the point where we're not even countering. We got to get to the point where we're being proactive and cutting it off before it even gets a chance. What that means is placing a premium on intelligence gathering, knowing who these people are that can make these decisions, and getting in a position where they understand that to do something like that will have their life looking dramatically different after they put ink to paper. I wish we can get to the point where they don't even think about doing nothing like that, because essentially you have to understand they're pretty much depriving you of your power, and that's something you should be very covetous of.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known people that lost their lives over stepping on somebody's shoe, and I'm not advocating violence, but I'm saying we know people or of people. I have cousins that been to jail doing heinous things. My best friend he's doing 28 to life now for doing something very heinous and it wasn't even worth it. So we know people that will do those certain things over something so simple. Just the thought of you trying to take my people's power should be a grievous offense, one of the highest sins, one of the highest crimes, and our people should really look at it that way. And we should stop being docile when it comes to that. And I'm not making any apologies about that. Again, I'm not advocating violence, but I do advocate protecting your liberty at all costs, and nothing's off the table.
Right. Awesome. Okay, uncouth. What's up? What are your thoughts?
Peace, host. Can everybody hear the sound of my voice? Peace to the room, peace, love, and reparations. This is great scholarship. I actually got the first edition of Charles Blow's book, which is on the topic. And one of the things that I really took from him, and some of the speakers in this room had kind of mentioned it lightly, is really where we stand at with our capital power, where we are economically. I'm in Florida, raised in Atlanta, born to South Carolinians. So I'm of the South. And the one thing that I can say is that those of us that aren't in the South, South is economically cheaper to live than the West Coast the Midwest, and the North. So when we look at this, when we look at strategizing, I'm not one to really put a lot of my mustard behind the political structure, i.e., looking at a party to be our savior. I think that has been a downfall to the ballot. Especially, I don't know if I'm losing the matrix.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
you're breaking up just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my apologies, fam. Am I clear, or am I still?
You're clear. You're a little clear now, but that's probably a good spot right there, because I found it to be quite interesting that the lady in black, you know who she is, that was in North Carolina, who didn't win the race, and they made it clear that the DNC didn't even support or back her campaign, and so. One thing that Charles Blow did say at the very beginning of this documentary was state power, and I'm paraphrasing bigly. That state power piece is what is going to give us what we need to proceed, to have a life that we well deserve, and we've essentially built for everybody else. Everyone else is enjoying it except for Black Americans. Go ahead, Uncoop. Let's see if you're out of the matrix now.
I believe I appreciate that that opportunity, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
As I was stating, the point, and I do agree to the point. But I have a little pushback, and it is this, that Stacey Abrams, i.e., I'm gonna give some reference to this point. Stacey Abrams was running in a Republican state. Unlike North Carolina, where it's maybe a little bit more purple, outside of Metro Atlanta, Stacey Abrams pretty much had to dig down and pretty much sell her soul to the devil himself to really cast these votes. The one thing that I would really say, though, in her failed attempt to run for office twice was this: is that she seemed to be more of a shiny object tool than actually somebody that was really wanting to put in the work. And I say this because outside of her political run, Stacey Abrams is nowhere to be found. And I have family that's in the Atlanta metro area. My mother is a retired postal worker in the Gwinnett County area, North Atlanta. So I'm very familiar with the run. And one thing that I would say is this: is that we're talking about these the political apparatus, the Democratic Party. If you look at some of the cities that Democrats are running, they aren't exactly pro-Black, and I say that lightly. So what I'm saying is ultimately that Black people, the migration conversation is great, but I think with actually having the numbers first would actually be more beneficial than trying to strategize through policies, if that makes sense. Because the North and the West are typically more expensive demographics to live. I think that Blacks from those that have those higher salaries could easily double up, if you will, coming to the South and maybe getting some land, or co-opting with family members, buying some land where it's generally cheaper. So that's kind of my thoughts. Love the space, great scholarship, and I'll fold my chair with those.
Okay, and before you fold that chair all the way up, so I would like you to just clarify a little bit. So you're saying, if I understood you correctly, you're saying move to the spot and then look at policies, or create the policies and then move to the spot. What exactly? Can you clarify what you stated there?
Sure. No problem, Mel. Again, thank you for the space.
Mm-hmm.
So my thoughts are this: is that I think that we're trying to like build the airplane while we're flying it. And I'm saying that politically, putting our eggs in all one basket, which seems to be a majority of the mindset of the Black mind, is let's get behind this party. This party really has not done anything for the Black person. So my whole thing is this: let's just move first. Take your resources out of these high income tax states. Take your resources out of these states that'll pretty much put you in quarantine and lock down the whole state, i.e. New York, or i.e. these cities and states that allow these immigrants to come in and flood and take the resources that are due upon to the black person, i.e. Chicago, and bring your bodies and your talent to the South. Migrate with your family. The numbers, I understand with Alabama, there's gerrymandering with all of these districts, but the numbers themselves would counteract that. And then worry about putting your dollar, your time, your effort behind a political candidate. And it might not even be of the Democrat Party. It might be an independent. But my thought is that we've been putting our time and efforts behind people and behind institutions that have not generally done right by us.
Sure.
So I don't think that we should really focus on that. I think that we should focus more on getting the raw numbers and letting the numbers and the whole districting thing fan itself out, and then worry about, oh, okay, great. You come from New York, you've done this, you come from Chicago, you've done this, you do this. Okay, well, I can put money behind you based upon this, instead of worrying about, okay, let's go after this candidate and then worry about the people coming.
Okay.
That's more of my position. I hope that's a little bit more clear.
Yeah,
but thank
very
you
clear. Yes, very clear. And I see what you're saying. And, as a result of you saying that, here's what I thought of. And Black, I see your hand up. You can go right as soon as I make this, because maybe you could address this too. When you were speaking, WS, or Uncouth, I was thinking, well, you know how all these migrants are just pulling up to all these different cities and getting all the resources. If we're going to Black state migrate, should we go now? And just, go and sign up for Link and Snap and all that shit, because they're giving away the resources to everybody else. So would that help us? Black, you got it. I don't know if you can answer that question as well, but you got the mic, sweetheart.
Okay. Wow. So first, let me thank the Only Male Cruz for, taking time to put together a phenomenal, funded socially, watch party, screen share. Man, it was beautiful to sit there and watch with the folks in the space, and also have it simulcasting to the X app. And we talked about not doing YouTube because of their policies, but I really, because that was like the whole vision of it, is to be able to have conversations about the video and audio material that's out there. And there's a lot of these documentaries that are specific to Black America that I really think we could dig into, as well as whatever in the entertainment field. But, I want to grade the documentary. So I heard what Sean said about, his soft approach, very soft approach. And very diplomatic, and certainly could play well in a crowd of just about anybody, because there's no hostility there. However, the reality is this: whether you are hostile or not, you will face hostility towards you, especially as you start to win elections, especially as you start to gain power. And they know, and it's specific to Black America. And there's a little bit of naivety in either him as a Black man in America, or simply because he's so connected to the power structure. And I say that because it's very, very evident that, yes, he has access. Yes, he's been a journalist. Yes, he's done all these different things. But again, just like in the book, he took the time to point out his connections to high-level Democrat operatives. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And so everybody that he interviewed that wasn't a direct family member or a friend or a cousin was connected to the Democrat Party in some way, shape, or form. So that's just something that I think was very, very apparent. It would have been nice if there was a Republican operative to balance that part of it, so at least you get some different, even if it's pushback, but you get a different perspective. But overall, I'd give it like a 9.5 in terms of boosting the message. Because really, at this point, I mean, I swear to God, the words that were coming out of his mouth, I could probably find a post that I posted that is not identical, 99% identical to the words coming out of that man's mouth. So I really stand on the fact that there is a divine energy at work here. There is divine energy at work here. And it is really up to us to just step out in faith, because simply by us moving and talking to the people as he did in places in the South, they're actually hungry for more of us to move to those areas. It's not as if they're saying, "Oh no, please don't come down here, stay away," you know, yada yada yada, whatever. They're saying, "No, come down, help us." And so that is very, very encouraging, because that's the same experience I had in the real world. And so I loved it. I love that it was on Funded Socially. I love that we put it together.
Yeah.
And you know, here's the more future documentaries of that type.
So
Hey,
you know,
Black,
well, let me ask this one question, Homeland, because let me ask him this
ahead.
question, and then you take it, because this is in your forte, and I know that Charles Blow, either he was influenced by your work, Homeland, or you were influenced by his, and I'd like for you to address that. But I would like for Black to answer this question. You can, I guess, follow up on it too. Homeland, is now a good time for just people to just say, "Look, I'm out of here. I'm going down there. I'm going to do like these immigrants. Get me some Link, get me some TANF, get me some SNAP," or whatever they have in these different states. Should we do that now? Because everybody else is getting the resources. So should we go down there and be a burden on I mean, what should we do that, Black?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So America is an endless resource as long as it exists. They literally print the money. Their military ensures that wherever the resources are on the planet, they will get access to it one way or another. I am so I have very little concern about the immigrant situation, because after I did my analysis on it, it is something that's not going to be stopped. There's nothing that we could do to stop it. And so I don't focus any energy on it other than pointing out, if there's a negative this, negative that. But the idea that we're going to stop the United States from increasing its value by likely 25 to 30 or even 40% by bringing in 70 plus million immigrants, to me, it's just not a smart way to think. Yes, we should move back to the South now if we can, as quickly as we can. But it's not because of the immigrants. It's because that's the thing that we should be doing and should have been doing already for the last, 50, 60 years, to be quite honest.
Well, what I mean specifically is should some of us just say, you know what? Since we know everybody can apply for a social service benefit, whether it's food stamps or welfare or TANF or Link or whatever I know in Illinois they call it Link. And what I'm saying is that instead of us saying, well, first I got to find a job, and then should we just go on down there, apply like all of the other immigrants are doing, apply for these generous benefits and resources that they're handing out, with ease? Should we go ahead, since they're giving it, should we go now and get some of that for those who aren't going to transfer on the job or who are not entrepreneurs? That's the part I'm asking. Is now strategically, is it a good time to go down there now to any of these states?
Okay, let me answer it like this.
Okay.
One, if this is money for immigrants, we don't qualify. I mean, that's the easiest answer.
Okay.
The other answer is that once we control the state budget and the federal money that comes into the state, this is likely a temporary thing. No matter how long it may go on for a decade, I don't know.
Sure.
But the reality for us is no matter what happens, let's say we all move to the South and we took control over state budgets, they could still funnel federal money to, Iowa or Wyoming or some other state and send all the immigrants there if they choose to, because we could simply say we're not a sanctuary state. We do E-Verify. We're going to crack down, yada, yada, yada. We're not friendly to immigrants. But the federal government can do whatever the federal government wants to do with the surplus money that they're using for this particular issue. There's always going to be an issue, whether it's foreign or domestic. To me, it's just not that big of an issue, other than they're centering them in Black communities that, quite honestly, we don't need to be in anymore. Right. We really should have got out of those communities a long time ago. Now that we have the plan and we understand it, all conversation should really shift to that. And those that want to stay, so be it. When we get state authority, we'll try to help them as much as we can. But outside of that, the conversation should be, let's get control over the authority and the budgets. And then everything changes.
Okay. I can rock with that. Homeland, you got it. Thanks so much for being patient. Go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, I was going to say that these illegal immigrants, when they come to the United States, they come with no identification, right? So when they go to to get state sponsored, wherever you want to call it, they say okay, they don't have any ID. Okay, where are you from? Are you illegal? Yes, I'm illegal. What country are you from? I'm from this country. Okay, you can get this benefit. If Black Americans, right? I mean, I'm just thinking, because this is my first time thinking about this. If we go down to the South and we need benefits, just say we don't have any ID that we are illegal. I mean, that's just as long as we don't show any ID and say we are not American citizens, maybe they will give us
a little something.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I sure do.
But look, this is the first time I ever thought about that. But look, you mentioned about where Charles Blow got his idea from.
Sure.
Look, I wrote my book in 2012, right? And I started promoting my book and my website and my YouTube videos and Facebook pages on Twitter, on social media around about 2013, right? And I was slowly getting, more followers or whatever. And that was 2013, 2014, 2015. I have a cousin that is he makes movies, right? And he read my book and he said, "Hey, Frederick, you know what? You should do your own documentary about, moving down to the South." This is 2014 or 2015. And I said, "Look, man, I'm not the type of person that want to put my face out there. I was asked to do hundreds of interviews between 2013 and 2019, but I refused to do interviews. When Black started his space, what year was it, Black? 2021 or 2022? I think it was 2021. It was late 2021. I told Black, I said, "Look, I'm not a speaker. I'm not the type of person that like to convey, information orally. But I try. I can do what just try to do what I can do while I'm on his space. But believe me, I share information with Charles Blow back in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. He responded to some of my tweets, right? He didn't think it would work. He said that there were more, whatever vote that Black people had, white people had more. They had more votes. And I told him, you're correct. Charles Blow. However, if Black Americans, if we can reverse migrate to the South, then we, and take supermajority of those states, then we can take control of the state. And he started, well, he never promoted it. I was promoting it. He never said anything about him. He never said anything about that he agreed with my information, but he'll probably do some likes or he'll make some comments.
Right.
Now look, Black, he found some. I don't know how to work the where you can find old tweets and things, but Black, he actually found the tweets where we had conversation. Where I had conversation with Black, with Charles Blow, but yeah, I mean,
well, this is that's a good point right here, because as I was preparing for the screening, I got a couple of clips, and this will be the first time airing them here. But here's a quick clip from the documentary where Charles Blow is saying he was initially scared to move. Let me run it real quick. Hopefully it runs well. We're about to find out, but this is him talking about how he was scared to move to the ATL. Hold on, here we go.
If we're going to make a go of it, the South makes a lot of sense.
I was shaken and nervous, maybe even afraid about leaving New York for Atlanta. I've convinced myself that this is what we must do as Black people.
I don't know if you could convince that many people to move that way.
So I appreciated him making that statement because for those who are concerned about moving, the very person who is presenting this documentary has expressed that they had the same concern, the same fear. JV, thanks for pulling up. You got your hand up. What's going on? Let's hear from you. JV.
Oh, thank you. I can hear me.
Oh, your matrix out, JV. Your matrix. I don't know if you can fix your speaker or your headset. While you're doing that,
It's better. Can you hear me now?
yeah, that's better. That's great. How you doing? Thanks for pulling up. What's going on?
Very good, very good.
Awesome.
Sorry to change the audio. I thought somebody had their hand up before me. I think Sean had his hand up.
It's okay.
Sean,
You got the mic now. So what's going on?
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So with this topic, it was discussed maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, as I remember, and it feels to me like a topical solution. I don't know how much range it has. It feels very good. Sounds very good. The pushback that I heard was, we have this already in certain municipalities or districts or regions. I think it's maybe Alabama or Mississippi. We have a majority Black demographic there. And what's happening in these places, they have some aggressive gerrymandering. They even have they inserted new quasi Jim Crow laws in these regions. So if those things are happening, how does it look if we go into a majority Black state and assume that these things are not, this type of aggression or exclusion is not going to happen again? So I mean, I don't know if anybody spoke to that pushback, but I do feel like that's very notable. We have to interact with that. What does that mean? We're gonna lock ourselves with. Go ahead. Are you?
No. I mean, that's a. I hear you, and that's. I don't think we addressed that. It's been addressed before, but I don't think it has been brought up this evening. And so here's what we're going to do: is hear from Sean, then hear from Uncouth, and then if Black or Homeland, if we don't get the answer by then either one of them can respond to that question directly. So Sean, go ahead. You got your hand up. What's going on?
It's hilarious when I heard him say those very legitimate and valid questions he posed.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I was like, black needs to handle this. I was like,
Right.
black, you got that, but
Exactly.
we have to get to a point where we're not just relying on one or two people, or we all have to be able to articulate this properly.
True, Sean.
Now, JB, if you can kind of rephrase the questions you posed, because I don't want to misconstrue what you were saying. Can you do that real quick, and then I'll see if I can respond?
I mean, sure. I mean, I think you heard the questions. There are districts already with a demographic that's majority black, and they're dealing with issues that we will have to face if we have the
if we did a migration.
If we are audacity to push ourselves into sit ourselves in like a big black majority. Isn't it like Alabama or Mississippi? I forget which one. They have this new Jim Crow type of thing going on where the legislators and these people are like locking them in. Doesn't like Atlanta have a thing where gerrymandering is like aggressive? So I don't know if this is a well thought out plan. I've never heard anybody talk to pushback.
Sir, there's no state. There's no state in the South that is majority black. There's not one. The blackest state, which is Mississippi, is only 39 to 40% black. And if the whites have 59% of the population and control the governor's seat, controls the state legislature, controls the state court system, controls the Secretary of State, and they control all the different institutions within the state, then they control everything within the state. We need supermajority so we can take control of the governor's seat, the state legislature, and all the other state institutions. Then we can take over the state. That's the only way it's going to work. Political control of a county or a city doesn't work if we don't have control of the whole state. That's what we have to keep in mind.
Awesome. And one thing that Charles Blow did say, and I really liked it. Well, two things. One, I like that he said this. I like the way he said it. And two, when he's made this statement, I was like, this is what Black says all the time. He said that we've got to use the Constitution as an instrument of our liberation. And that falls right in line with what Black says all the time, is we're not talking about being a government inside the government that's not a part of the government. It's using the tools that are already in play and using them to our advantage. And so I like, again, that Charles and Blow back that up. So let's see, Muffet, you're on the stage. I want to hear from you. What's going on?
Hey, good evening, everyone. I apologize, Mel and Black. I missed the showing earlier. I just logged on to Twitter and saw that there was a screening. So I have HBO. I'll check out the Charles Blow show.
Absolutely.
But I apologize for missing everything earlier.
It's all good. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to address one of the topics that I believe JB brought up, and also Uncouth earlier. And it's about like the actual circumstances that we're dealing with now, because they are correct. In certain southern states, the Republicans control these states, and they have gerrymandered majority Black regions of the state, whether they're counties or districts. They've gerrymandered those sections of the state and restricted our power. But I think there's one dynamic we're missing, and Uncouth touched on the parties that control the states. The dynamic that we're missing is that these, like where our populations are in the north and in some southern states, we're under Democratic control. The Democrats aren't providing leadership for us, and they're not talking about having a majority Black state. They're not talking about independent political power. I think like we confuse a lot of things. Like the reality is, the majority of our voting population they're under control of Democrats. Their mindset their whole consciousness has been captured by like a two-party system. They're either, with one party because they fear the other, or they've been brought up in a system where they only know to vote for one party. And this party, kind of like when you look at other countries and you have countries that have been conquered, so their leadership is chosen by outside forces, like in colonialism. It's somewhat like that in this country, where no matter what state you look at, if there's a black person that's a mayor or a sheriff or any other political position, they're normally a Democrat, and they operate under the Democratic Party platform. They're not operating under a pro-black platform. They're not operating in the best interest of our people. They're operating and pushing that party's agenda in detriment to us.
Yes.
So what we need is leadership to like break out of that and stand apart from that and kind of like inspire the masses, if we can get the message out that there is another way. Right. Because I hear a lot of people confused that, black people are here, we're the majority there. Yes, but we're being controlled by, and I'm not going to say a Democrat. It could be Democrat, Republican. It's an American. I can't think of the word, but we're under American system, and like in America, like people grow up watching media. They grow up in the school system, and they can only think of things in certain ways because the system. You can call it the intelligence agency, just the society. It's engineered our minds to think in a certain way. And the black state agenda is separating ourselves from that traditional form of thinking, and we're stepping outside of that. We're saying that we have so many challenges facing us. This is our solution. And up till this moment, it's not being pushed by any other sources. So we have to look at like this concept as a completely different paradigm from what's out there. Yes, there's black majority districts in certain counties, in certain states like Alabama, Louisiana, but the Democrats that's in control, that's furthest from their agenda. They're not trying to fight the Republicans. They're trying to maintain a certain status quo. So
Muffin,
when we move into states, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, you're fine. Let me jump in here a little bit because you're hitting like you damn near right there on the head with it, because that's just exactly, and I didn't write the lady's name down, but that's pretty much exactly what she was saying about, and Black had even mentioned on the Funded Social site where the actual movie was playing, was that, hey, this was a great candidate. She didn't win. And the lady went on further to say that, what happened is they, it was their objective not to be a DNC funded or DNC controlled 501c3. Okay, I'm really paraphrasing here, but that was their objective because they knew. She said, we want to make sure that we are in touch with the people on the ground, and so, and she also went further to say that the DNC put no money behind this lady's campaign, which is sad because so that puts us in between a rock and a hard place when we've got candidates who are going to look out for us, but because it's not enough of us for them to be able to go without the financial support of the DNC, then they don't win, and as a result, we don't win, and that's why we're still in the same damn boat. Now, I'm going to jump straight to Rella, because I got a feeling you're going to either say something about that 202, or you're going to say something. You're a new speaker on the stage. So let's hear from you. Then we'll hear from Sean, and then we'll go back to JV. What's up, Rella? Thank you for pulling up. Oh,
hey, Mel. Hey, I'm sorry.
And we're live on YouTube. Yeah, we're live on YouTube, y'all. If you'll please go there, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share the room. Go ahead, Rella. My bad. Go ahead. What's going on, Rella?
Well, no, Muffet hit it right on the head, on the nail, and you have to forgive me. I'm fighting off a cold, and so it took me some time because I'm also working and stuff. Sure. So at the same time, I love the conversation. You know, I don't really think there's a right or wrong. I think there's only us adding to the collaboration of what actually is it going to look like for us in the future based on the impacts that we've gone through when it comes to the things that we've seen thus far in our lifetime and in our parents' generation and so forth, right? And so listening to everyone and their points of view, I will address two things. You know, Black Majority State, and shout out to Black and Trouble co-hosts. It is important to understand that the initiative for Black Majority State, and shout out to Black American Homeland, for both your books, is that it is a foundation for us to continuously add on to things that we see now. They were actually talking about in other generations and other platforms, other organizations, and now they're trying to, you know, put it all together. I think new knowledge versus, you know, pairing it with old information helps us to propel forward. But if we stay stuck in becoming parrots, then all we're going to do is try to parrot information that we've heard in, you know, maybe rooms of contention or people having a disdain for somebody. I did hear someone mention, you know, Stacey Abrams. And let's get this all the way real. When you are running for public office, you're running for public office with the incentive of trying to get people to donate to your campaign so that you have the money, the funding to move, right? And also to pay for certain things. Being on a campaign, I know what that looks like now. I can say that now because I was a part of someone who ran and I got to see the inner workings, the stresses, from the personal life to how it impacts not having enough funding, getting funding, trying to petition for people to want to invest in your ideas and how you want to run and show up for the community you are in. There is a whole interworking in that. I'm not saying what Stacey Abrams did was wrong or not right. I'm saying that in the interim of her actually being a Black American, and as I say we, that includes myself, I'm not in Georgia, but the people in Georgia did not handle her correctly. They handled her with the all-seeing eye effect is what I call it, meaning that if someone else regurgitates something, they use that to say, okay, yeah, I'll vote for her, but no one took a look at her actual platform and what she stood on and how that would impact us as a whole. Other groups did that. When it was time for us to do that, and I'm talking about the grassroots that were moving for reparations, we took a look at her platform and noticed how she was able to actually quantify issues for other groups, show up for those issues for other groups. But when it came to us, she actually minimized and also separated our issues from one another by gender. That actually had a large impact on people wanting to vote for her. Also, she did a lot of speaking engagements where she was against, and I shouldn't say against, where her point of view of repair for reparations was very off-putting, and it put her in a place where no one wanted to vote for her. And so when you look at those particular types of people versus a Marcel or versus a Tamara or a Reverend William Somerville and those candidates that are Brandon Dean, who actually came up, stood up and put their money in the different states that they were in and that we were supporting them, they stood hard on information on repair. She did not, but she had the backing of millions of dollars, whereas we struggled to get that type of pull and push and notoriety for the things that we need in our community. And what I realized is that showing up is not just the regurgitating of why you don't like somebody or somebody being bought or something like that. It really is to say, can we really point to the quantity of when we actually showed up in the knowledge that we have today, where they actually showed up correctly? And to Muffet's point, where they really now took the information that we have today and said, okay, well, we're not about party lines or voting for a party. We're actually looking at who these people are that have been in office, what they actually done, and how they have gerrymandered areas, meaning that they've gotten together and they've changed either the zoning, they've changed the line so that more votes go to one person, and they actually are in control of the electoral votes. All of that incumbents together, I don't think we have. And I think that's something where we need to do more of that, even if we are fighting for Black majority representative states, where we have those politicians who are willing to stand on those values and those things, and they actually are willing to represent those things, because the Democratic Party and the Republican Party were threatening people. I'm going to just put it out there.
Sure.
They were threatening people's lives, and it's not a game.
Here's what I want to. Okay, so I want to throw a couple of things on the floor, and I know we've got some hands up, and we'll go to JV, then we'll go to Uncouth, and then we'll go to Sean. We'll go in that order. But let me throw some of these things out on the floor, and I want you guys to address these if you can. Okay, because one thing, a couple of times Charles Blow mentioned what's this documentary is pretty much articulating, and what they're discussing is a reverse migration. In terms of back in, what was the 1940s, I think it was, and one of y'all can get me on the dates if you want to, but when everybody was moving north. Okay, and so now what he's advocating for now, and what this is really can be referred to as reverse migration. Is there any lesson that we can get out of the motivation and the impetus for us to have done that initial migration in the 1940s? Are there any lessons we could learn that would benefit us to see the reasonableness in us moving back home? Because they use that term a lot, coming back home, going back to the South. And then also, I'd like for somebody to just address your thoughts or opinions or whatever. I found it to be very interesting when they described how those hippies moved to Vermont and changed the whole state and made it liberal, to the extent where that impact is still lasting, to the point where Vermont voted for Obama in high numbers. Okay, so the hippies were able to enjoy doing that, changing the state. But then when our guy down here, whose father was part of the African, what's that called? The African Republic of New Africa, when they did their thing, they had the FBI on them, and a police officer got killed and things of that nature. So I just want somebody to just speak to that. Because can we anticipate that we're going to have that same type of conflict? And if so, how do we deal with it? So, Uncouth, I want to hear from you. I would like to hear your thoughts on it. Muffet, I want you to jump in on it. Uncouth, JV, and then Sean, please. Let me see.
Peace again to the room.
Black, jump in whenever you're ready, sir, because I didn't see your hand up. I was further down. Whenever you're ready, Black, you jump in. Go ahead, Uncouth.
So to answer your question, what can we take away from the initial migration? That's kind of where my preference of my position kind of lays therein. Actually, it was great dialogue by One Love Black, Black 7, very eloquent in her delivery. I second the whole thing with Stacey Abrams. She was spot on with that. But going to the question, what can we take from the Great Migration? That's where my whole topic was, where my point was in, was about the human capital, as the economic impact that we have. When we moved up, that was to better ourselves economically. There was factories. There was a lot of things the South was not producing. So we moved there for economics. Now, if you look at that, it has flips itself on its head. Economically, it's very expensive to be a New Yorker. I don't know if there's any New Yorkers in here, but to make $100,000 to live in, like, on top of each other, and you're renting 5Gs or 4Gs a month, that's $500,000 mortgages in Florida, in Georgia, in South Carolina. Like, you can literally become whatever you want to be wherever, but just economically, you could definitely do a lot more. So to preface that question, that's where my whole thing was, and my hand was up because I wanted to really address the room in this one position. Think of it about like this. I know that one of the brothers had said the gerrymandering in Mississippi and Alabama is problematic. Okay, like another brother had corrected that statement as far as saying that it's the highest majority of black, but we're still not even half of the demographic. I'd like to also add to that these are two of the poorest states in the country. So economically, we're not dealing with we don't have that. There's not a lot of capital there that's really promoting. I guess somebody to want to move to something like that. But if you were to go to North Carolina or Atlanta, which are world capital cities, i.e. Home Depot, Delta, NCR that makes ATM machines, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. All of these companies have that Hartsfield International is the busiest in the world. So look at the capital impact that these states actually hold. So economically, moving to these states would create a snowball, if you will, because all of these companies have invested billions and billions of dollars. They're not just going to pick up. They just can't pick up their company and say we're going to another state. Yeah. So looking at it from a strategic standpoint, right. Well, even so, then, but a lot of these companies are very pro-black in their stances. Delta's force is very black in Atlanta. Like, a lot of people work for Delta. A lot of black people work for Home Depot, corporate, not even outside the store, corporate. So, and these are just two of the companies. But what I'm trying to get the listeners to really grasp is that, you have the gerrymandering, but these are not majority black states. So moving to a state that is more pro economics, pro capital, which would be a benefit to you or to your family, basically like a recruitment school. You know what I mean? And then not to even mention, before I fold my chair, the South has the South's port of South Carolina, port in Savannah. These ports do more numbers than any other port in the country, even the port in LA. Just those two ports, South Carolina and Savannah, import all the major ports. The shippage from at least Europe come through these two ports. So understanding the actual capital dynamic of the state and understanding, they might have some social issues, but I'd rather live in a state where I have cheaper taxes and my dollar goes further than other things that we can't control in these northern states. And I'll fold my chair with that. Thank you again for that time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Black, go ahead, jump in. Let's get you. Then Homeland, we're going to hear from you, and then we'll go to you, Sean, and you, JV.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Man, shout out to JV. JV, man. JV has some really powerful spaces. I love building with the brother. We've been doing the space for 2 years, so we literally answered all of these talking points at least 100 times. The brother that just talked about the ports, we actually had someone in our space talking specifically about that port and how the wages are kept low because it attracts business to the port. And if you increase the wages, you're likely to slow down the economic activity in the port. It's a beautiful journey. The brother Charles Blow has a beautiful family, beautiful mother, beautiful home. Even his son who had that incident with the police officer. I gotta say this. I thought it was weird. He kept saying black boy when he's speaking to a grown ass man, but that is what it is. But outside of that, I just think that this has the potential for millions of views, tens of millions of views, hundreds of millions of views. And for that reason alone, it is probably the most powerful addition to this movement, because now, you know, when I go to Wilmington and we're having a conversation with a woman who is running for mayor, I can point her and her family to this video, and you really don't have to explain it after that. Someone who's active in politics, who understands the dynamics of politics, who said to me, quite frankly, we're 70% of the population, but none of the resources come to us. A lot of the questions that hesitators, that's going to be the nicest way I could put it, bring up, or simply because they don't really understand it, and or they're not interested in it. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. There's going to be more than enough people that are going to be interested in it, and more than enough people that are going to make it happen. And so, I wish I could fast forward my life 2 years down the road and bring a video back from the future. But, you know, I'm loving the space. I enjoy the conversation.
Awesome. You know, before you fold your chair up, Black, I want to ask you this, and Homeland, I want you to respond to when you get a chance. So they kind of kicked around in this video about Charles Blow being the person to lead this challenge. And, you know, Blow was like, what are you guys thinking of me sitting in my little desk and trying to organize 40 million people? I think that was the number he used. Do you think we would be successful if we had someone like a Charles Blow, or we had a human being leading this thing and directing and guiding this migration to the states that you and Black have, or you and Homeland have discussed repeatedly? Do we need a Charles Blow? Do we need a leader? Do we need a national face or voice to successfully pull this off, Black? What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, that's a really awesome question. So at first I was going to say we need 10,000 Charles Blows, but in fact, no, we need 10,000 individual Black Americans who understand the information. Grassroots is grassroots for a reason. And so what will happen is, with successes and news reports, those celebrity faces and larger platforms will come running. They'll either come running to cover it, or they'll come running to try to get out in front of it. And that means the Al Sharptons of the world will show up and try to, look like the band leader. You gotta be very, very careful about Black celebrity. It is corrupt to its core. It is controlled opposition. And unless they have a history of sincerity when it comes to Black Americans, for me personally, I'm not in it for photo ops. I'm not in it to rub elbows or take pictures with these people. If these people are not sacrificial in everything they do, to me, they have no value. I value this particular piece because it really has the potential to, touch a lot of hearts and minds. I put up in the Jumbotron, I put 4 pictures together, and Black American Homeland mentioned that tweet. So I put his oldest tweets, which were 2015, to Mr. Blow. And then I put the tweet from my King Grady account that I sent to him in 2020. And so for a person to sincerely say over and over and over again that they had this big idea, it's a little interesting. I'm gonna say it like this, because while a individual who, is world renowned and known all over the place and likely gets, way more notifications than I could possibly imagine.
Sure.
There's just something about the fact that there was interactions with Black American Homeland's tweets. And then when I sent him essentially something saying really to the effect, one day we need to sit down and talk, and pointing him in the direction of the book. And this is before I had even started talking to Black Americans. We didn't know each other existed at that point in time. I just, because I don't believe in coincidence. I do believe it's divine energy, but I just think that I'm looking forward today to sit down and have a conversation and look individuals directly in their eyes and have authentic, real conversations. And I'll end with that.
Okay, and what I want to do, and thank you for that, Black. Appreciate you so much. Let me run this quick clip. It's about 13 seconds long, and it's straight from the documentary, and it's just him talking about the previous migration. So it's like 13 seconds. I want to see if he says what I'm looking for him to say. So let's check it out real quick.
During the Great Migration, about 6 million Black people left the South for cities in the North and West. I suggest that Black people return to the states with the highest percentages already of Black people, where they can gain political power.
Okay. Now, he did not go, and if you're on the YouTube channel, you'll see where he highlights the states. They all seem to be running very coastal. He didn't say the states in particular. So I kind of want to disrupt the order that the speakers are going to go in and see if either Black or Homeland can state. I know you guys have said it before, but hey, it's a recorded space. State the states that we're trying to get the focus on. I know Delaware, okay? But what are the other states that we're focusing on with this Black majority state migration? Could Black or Homeland, one of you guys respond to that, please?
Yeah, let me say this really quick, because he had a map and it went from Delaware down to Louisiana. And I do not remember him ever mentioning Delaware at all. I swear to goodness. It makes me want to go back and read that book. What I remember was him talking about I-20 and essentially how there are these Black cities that dot along this interstate highway, and how we would connect this highway to this movement to the South. So I just, because Delaware would have stood out to me like, you know what I mean? It would have been like boom, 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 boom. So I just find it curious. Again, now, interestingly enough, on his map, he didn't mention Arkansas, which Arkansas is the third state on the list, because with 1 million people, I mean, they just had a Black man run for governor, an authentic Black American man run for governor. Arkansas would be the prime state before all of the other ones outside of Delaware and Mississippi. So I just don't know exactly what the theory behind why he's picking these states other than this percentage, but the percentage is really deceptive, because we already talked about North Carolina, where you need 6 million plus people to get to, this 60%.
Right.
So there are some states that are so big, like Virginia and North Carolina, that it would take 25% of our population to get those two states. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense logistically. So I just would like to have a conversation with the brother so that we can actually walk through the more intricate details of why he's choosing these states and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and it also makes me wonder, too, because apparently they were talking about the 2022 the 2022, I think that's when this or 21, when this was, whenever J6 happened, it was immediately after that. So his mind may have changed by then. Let's hear from Sean, then JV, and then you, Rella.
Yeah, I want to touch back on the point of having the messenger like a celebrity or somebody with a big platform.
Yeah.
It'll be nice. I think it'd just be icing on the cake. It'll be nice. It'll amplify the message. But at the end of the day, it has to come from the grassroots. We need the Mel Cruzes. My focus is on people like you, people like Rilla, people like Black, people like Miss Giselle that believe in the message, can articulate the message, giving you a larger platform. And I've really been racking my brain on how to do that. I believe I figured it out, but I'm going to work on a working model. And once it's up and running, and I'm convinced that I can argue the point to you guys, because I'm sure you'll have doubts and counterpoints.
Sure.
I want to be able to show you, hey, this is working. This is what could be used. But essentially, this is how it's going to have to be. Let's look at it this way. I like to often quote, the mission of the new black media is to take control of the public discourse in the black community. And they're doing that online. And they've done it over the last 15 years. They've been successful at it. Granted, not everybody has heard about the black media, but we need to apply that same mission offline as well. And how do you do that? There's a concept of town squares, right? We can't, you know what I'm saying, rent out town halls, but what we can do is meet our people in the parks. We can meet our people on the streets. So we have to have the resources to facilitate something like that. And I've been racking my brain doing the math. We start in Delaware, we start in Mississippi, we start in those other areas the black talk about that will draw those people, like Philadelphia and stuff like that. We have to be very intentional where we concentrate at. But we can definitely do like start to do and facilitate those type of setups. Like I always talk about this white guy that came to my neighborhood. I live in a predominantly black neighborhood, pretty gang infested. So basically, he was a pastor, and he brought like 3 long buses of people, and there's a bunch of white people. They hopped off the buses. They spent about 2 hours walking around the neighborhood, passing out flyers and talking to people. And I was looking like, yo, this is amazing. They're not scared of us like that. But that's another story. And at the end of after that, I was hanging out in the park. And I was, street dude. That's what I hang out at.
Shut up.
So, I'm just watching them before. I'm like, wow, they just walk around like they older way. But they were very friendly and they were very mission oriented. They all had these their church's shirts on. And there was a bunch of actually really mainly teenagers helping out, passing out flyers, say, hey, we're doing this event here. We're giving away. They basically gave away over $5,000 worth of prizes. So what happened was they set up a stage at the park, right on the court where I like to play at. And I was just watching the whole thing. They set it up. There was nothing there when they came, and they set it up. There was so many of them. They set the stage up. They set the prizes up where people could see them. And soon as the scheduled time for the start, the park was full with like a couple thousand people from the neighborhood. And what happened was they were playing music and entertaining, but the one thing was, the whole ploy was, the pastor said, okay, you guys want to get these prizes, you got to just, the only thing you have to do is listen to this 20-minute message. And he preached to them and encouraged them to come to his church. And I was floored at how effective that was for them gathering the people. We need to be able to do that on a consistent basis, consistently. Maybe at not such large a scale, but we need to be able to funnel resources to that. We got to be able to get out there. The people have to see us constantly. They have to be front of mind. We have to do stuff in the community. We got to, like I said, we got to be like Nino Brown, baby. We got to be kissing babies and passing out turkeys. We got to get involved with these organizations, all that. They have to see us. We have to stay visible. We have to stay visible. And I think if we do that and we let that, we start in certain target locations and we spread it across the nation. And what I'm working on should be able to help fund that. I don't know if it'll fully fund it, but it'll help fund for those expenditures, if I'm saying it right. And like you said, I'm putting my faith in the black, saying divine energy. I think I was meant to see that unfold before my eyes, and that happened about 15 years ago, and it always stuck in my head how it all played out, and I was interested in for a reason. I think I was meant to see that, and I want to apply that same strategy for our people on the ground, like coming up. And man, if we could do that, imagine this. Okay, so basically, imagine once a week and a lot of different locations, concentrated locations. Let's say I'm gonna go out further. Okay, every city we're in, just about every major city we're in, that we have these events going on, about 10 of them at one time, and they have a Twitter space where for the first 2 hours it's a multi connected space where everybody from all over the country is connected.
Simulcast.
And then the next 2 hours at the same at the events that they break off and do their own regional talks and stuff like that. But we're dropping seeds about black majority state, black political authority, all the stuff we talk about, reparations, all that.
Sure.
And the thing to get our people in is we're going to be giving out prizes, which will be paid for. But we'll have it where to get their retention and make them interact, they have to stay in tune. We could have different things where they have to be able to tell us a buzzword that we mentioned throughout the show, and they won't get the prize until they actually made it through the show. Or I'm not going to say show, broadcast. I'm working this stuff out. I think it'll work. I know it'll work, but I just want to have a proven model, and I land.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's really a good idea, especially I hear what you're saying, and then you want to make sure that the retention, not the retention of them actually physically being there, but the retention of the information, because that's the part that's key. Because some people will sit there and put some headphones in and be listening to everything but what your speakers are saying. So that key, what's critical is going to be that the way the information is presented and the details of what's being provided, that it is so succinct. That's why I'm really appreciating the variety of voices tonight, because we're kind of saying a lot of stuff that has been said before, but it's being said so differently. It's like, oh, damn, you just really simplified it. Whereas last week somebody said it and it was, more like an algebra or trigonometry or something like that. So, yeah, no, that sounds like oh, go ahead, Sean.
Let me add just one more thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
also saw this, I do Facebook marketing ads. I'm pretty familiar with that. And I saw this brother, man, he started his business. And I didn't get the gist of everything he was doing, but what stuck out to me the most was how he was able to utilize Facebook to run an operation all across the country
Mm-hmm.
in hundreds of cities all at once. Just him and his small team.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, we could do the same thing.
Yeah.
All these hosts, like you could host a major event, and then everybody could break off from their own separate parks and regions and host those events.
Yeah.
And we could do that simultaneously through Funded Socially and all these other platforms,
Yeah.
and just merge them together.
Absolutely.
And get that message out. That's how we can compete, and that's how we can stay in front of our people.
Absolutely.
And I also came up with a different idea of how to get our people to actually volunteer and it benefit them in an economical way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
yeah, no, that's solid, because one thing I've been thinking about here lately too is that, Dr. Claude Anderson gave us a lot of information, but boy, I'm telling you, the challenge has been, where is the vehicle for us all to get this information and then be able to act on it in concert? So what you're heading in the right direction with it, Sean, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you're talking about. And I forgot what the order is. I think it's going to be JV, then Rella, and then Muffet. So JV, you got it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I just want to go off the telling and what the brother said. And I appreciate that solution. That was amazing, brother. I specifically don't like to hear solutions, because I think we have been wholeheartedly solution oriented as long as we've been in this country. Mutual aid societies were example of solutions that turned to our AME churches, solution oriented. Even the Black Panthers, not only the breakfast program, but I heard that they created the school system, public school system, and those things been co-opted and re-engineered and patented, where we didn't have no credit to it. So I don't, in these conversations, I specifically don't like to hear solutions, because I think we inherently have solutions. I kind of feel like that's dismissive, but that was dope, brother. What I wanted to talk about was what we were talking about before with regard to the Back to South program.
Mm-hmm.
That solution, I'm kind of remiss, because now we're talking about we need to control the levers of government now. So it's not us just like flexing and moving into these communities, is we have to be part of government. And when we do that, I'll look at Wilmington, North Carolina in the 20s, that wholesale murder, that wholesale massacre, and it might not be as violent as it was then, but these little machinations of how they try to displace us. I want to look at these things, right? How does that work? If we get into government, somebody mentioned that they're not going to let us get access to resources when we are government officials. I want to ask these questions. I'm not trying to be a dissident. I don't want to be dismissive, but I do want to ask that. I don't want my people to just run down to some municipality and just say, "Oh, it's a flex." Well, who's in government? So if it's not about us running down there, then it's us being in government. So let's be part of government. So we part of government. Are they going to flood the resources? So what are we saying? Like, I'm really confused with this whole program.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but I don't want to be cut off, because I was cut off before. Please. So if it's that, and it's not us just running down to a state, and we need to be part of government, how does that work? Because we do have certain municipalities. Maybe it's not a majority, but it's a damn near majority. Don't we have fucking Atlanta? Maybe not a state, but we have a damn near Black municipality. Don't we have these Mississippis and Alabamas? Like, I think these conversations become very dismissive, because people are trying to make a point. We do have leverage in different places, but it's not a flex. So this really concerns me. And I also want to round it off. You got to look at Roy Ennis out of New York City. He went down. He got like X amount of $1 million from Nixon, and he put up in North Carolina with all this money to build the black metropolis. And he ran into problems that somebody mentioned. Oh yeah, you got Target, you got these corporations, but you know what Roy Ennis had? None of that shit. And he was like hand to mouth, like all these $1 million trying to build up Soul City for the black community. So my point largely is that we have precedent. And I don't know if we're looking at this precedent. We're just kind of like reinventing the wheel at this point. We're just going to come and just make this magical black flex. No, the shit already happened, bro. And it fell for a reason. That the failure was because of a consistent reason. And now we're trying to say, hey, fuck the reason. Let's just do what our predecessors didn't do, and it's going to work. So it kind of bothers me when we have these conversations about, look, I got a solution. Let's be like the Jehovah's Witnesses and pull out the pamphlets.
Right.
No. That's not consistent. It's ahistorical, brother. Very ahistorical. So respect, like I always get off the mic when I talk. Stop doing that, bro.
You talking? Like, wait. Hold on, JV. You talking to me?
Oh, that was you. I'm sorry,
sister.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought that was somebody else. They cut me off before. I'm sorry, sister.
It's all right. It's okay. No, I think, and I am kind of interrupting you because you've said some meaty things. Okay. And, I want to, let's get to that. And you're always welcome to speak. So, but let's start with this entree. And I'm going to say this just for clarification, what I've heard and have been hearing from Jump Street, and what I've heard this evening in the documentary and in this space tonight is that it's the flex is a black majority state. Nothing less will do. Anything less will not be success. We have to have a majority of like-minded Black Americans. Let's be specific there as well, which Charles Blow really wasn't. I kind of took issue with that piece because he was really about some flat blackness ultimately. But nothing less than a state majority of Black Americans who have the power to make sure that whatever happens in that state is for the benefit. It's on the agenda of Black Americans. And that is the thing that we've been sorely lacking. So is it going to be easy? No. And I appreciate what you said, JV, because while you were speaking, I was looking at some of these notes, and even Charles Blow said that migration is hard. He says it challenges one financially and spiritually. There are people that don't want to move. And just because if I move tomorrow, that's not going to make it a Black majority state when I wake up in the morning. So there's a lot to this, but unless we're controlling, and it really takes Black to spit it, because he says it, way better than when I'm articulating it. But I know what I'm saying is spot on. Unless we control the state with Black agenda in mind, it's all just a waste of gas. Rella, go ahead. Let's hear from you.
I can appreciate JB's position as well, and thank you, Mel, for that, because again, you hear the concern, you hear the impact again of what benign neglect looks like. So then you get you get people who are in a position of sometimes, fatigue, fortitude moving forward. So I want to state this is that, in a business or any type of work, I think in corporate or whatever, they have compliance and quality control. I think the Black community fell asleep at compliance and quality control. When you go, and that's going back and looking at what worked, what didn't work, and how to actually revolutionize or even move into the next decade, trying to get the things that we need. Yes, we've had a lot of we've had a lot of trauma. We've had a lot of of murder, things that have happened to our community time and time again. Every time someone came up with an idea or came up with something that actually was beneficial, you know, that one person, I think, who was propped up as a leader, because they were the ones who held, I think, the voice, the speaking mantra of how to move forward, they were taken out, right? So I do believe and agree with Black that we need tens of thousands of Charles Blows, and we need tens of thousands of Black American homeland and Black majority. We need tens of thousands of you, and we need to also embrace tens and thousands of JBs, because the thing is has nothing to do with whether or not we are arguing semantics or arguing the differences of opinion. It's okay. Well, how do we address them as they come up? How do you answer those questions? And you also say, okay, well, yes, these things were not done, or yes, these things were done, but that does not mean that life stops because things happen to us. It means that we have to continue to, in our business, go back to quality control, and we have to make sure that we continue to get our people into the next millennium or next decade or century, and we have to get to a position where we're economically trying to stabilize ourselves. And you cannot do that without control of a majority state that we are representatives of. So, like, if we're looking at what happened in Tennessee, Mason, Tennessee, we're looking at the comptroller. We're looking at who controls the purse strings of the state. Who controls legislation on the local and the state level. We know federal also is an impact too for the states. We need representation there. So, no, not everybody is probably going to join government, but it does not mean that you can't be a part of, like what Sean is doing, trying to figure out a way to find a template that people who want to own a business can operate, and they can be beneficial and growing economically, and we can support them.
Now, let me jump in. Let me interrupt you real quick, Rella, because you said something so critical. Mason, Tennessee, where in the heat of that battle, all of a sudden, the non-Black agenda's fantastic idea was to bring your boy in there. What was his name? Weatherford or Dickhead or something? I can't remember his name. To bring that comptroller in there to take control and only give the city couple $100, $100, anything over $100 they had to get approval for. That was the solution that was the non-Black agenda solution to solve a problem that the current administration hadn't even created. So that, I'm so glad you brought that up, because for the naysayers, when I say, "Oh, you don't need a Black," what good is that going to do? I'll tell you what it's going to do. It's going to avoid a lot of BS, because even though Mason, Tennessee worked it out to get all of that stuff paid and get it all up, I believe the comptroller is still in control of Mason, Tennessee. So it's very critical that we are in a city or in a state. Let me get that correct. In a state that is controlled by Black Americans in a majority fashion, so that we can cut through all the BS. Because every time we look up, we go 2 feet, and then they come through with a trick, and sets us back, 20 feet.
Well, and let me caution, and let me just caution this and say we have to be careful, because Chicago is facing an issue where they have in LA too, where they voted, someone who wasn't, they were melanated, and they said they thought they were for them. Remember, and they had this huge party for Brandon. I forgot his last name already.
Johnson.
Correct. And look what he's doing. He's actually positioned himself to put people who voted him in office last, or if not, ignore them entirely. So we have to, again, that goes back to Black I think Black majority's point of really getting into the business of who are our representatives
Right.
and how we're going to position them in a Black majority state.
Right.
And to me, Black majority state means more so political authority and majority of political authority, not just the bodies of people in that state.
Absolutely. Let me run this quick 11-second clip about the lady in Chicago, because again, she said something that was real, and that's what we have to contend with. Is some people do not want to move, and they're not going to move. And their argument, their reasoning is valid. But let's run this real quick, y'all.
The argument of like, hey, go south is that much different from, hey, up north, let's get this together.
You are encouraging Black Chicago to stay here, stay intact.
This is our city.
And that's how some people feel. And when I watched this, I thought about, what? Can you imagine if we all get to, or when we get to these Black state majority locations where we feel like that about our new spot, the Black majority states that we reside in. One thing that the lady that Charles Blow went to visit, apparently a co-student or whatever, where she said the South made her feel safe, even with its history. The South made her feel safe. First time I ever went to Atlanta, I was an adult. And just like what Charles Blow was saying, it's like you go in all these different places. I was just blown away. I was like, damn, I'm up in Applebee's and they bumping R&B and everybody in here is Black. I mean, the billboards, Black. I'm just Black. I'm like, damn, this is the place to be. So, we are a beautiful group of people, and we deserve to have what we built. And that's one of the things that the lady that Charles went to see as well, was what she said is, we got to take back what we built. Because when we get all the way down to the bottom of it, Black Americans were the wealth building engine of this country. And I think when we start to look at it that way, whatever it takes for us to get back in, or get in position to run this damn thing, or to at least have our voice heard, to our advantage, we need to move forward with that. Buffett, your hand is up. Let's hear from you, sir.
Yes, I can't stay up too much later, but I just wanted to address something that JB had said, and just want to let him know that these discussions that we're having have been going on for a while, and there's a lot of complexity to them. We have addressed the issue of, as we move into states, either taking a number of approaches where we work to develop relationships with the people that's already there to help them gain political power, or we develop our own candidates and we work to get them into positions. We create platforms. We have independents run. We have a specific agenda that fits and that'll benefit the Black population, that we campaign and let them know what that is. We'll be ready to move into the fields of economics, where we, help the people develop businesses. Or once we take state power, or even local power, because our first target is Delaware. We have a number of strategies that we take to try to gain both political power, welcome more people into the state, and just build as we move along. So it's just not like a simple-minded or willy-nilly effort to just welcome people, have people move, and then we'll see what happens next. Right. If you believe in, I would welcome anyone who has something to contribute to that effort. Come in, let's discuss it, let's talk, let's plan. We are actually putting plans together. We're traveling now, we're looking at places. To address Sean, what he mentioned, I believe that he did have good ideas about public outreach. I had similar ideas about the city of Wilmington and the city of Dover because the way the residential areas are organized and situated, it'd be extremely easy to canvass and reach people, or to have events where the majority of people would know what's going on and they can attend the event, and we can reach people that way. As far as strategies to reach people, I also believe that we should probably approach people that are social media influencers. You know, it doesn't have to be celebrities, but as many people as possible that can get the message out. I think that's necessary. Going back to the topic of leadership, I do think we need, if not direct leaders, but we do need some form of leadership that gets the message out. And the message has to be like directed advocacy, because right now, no one is actually pointing to political power and specifically state power as one of our solutions to like the many issues we face. You know, Sean mentioned the new black media, and even though the new black media over the past 10 plus years has kind of taken control of the discourse for the people that listen to the new black media, they don't have a direct message as far as what the solutions are. Because I've listened to Jason Black, I listened to Tariq Nasheed. Professor Black Truth is actually further along in calling for like the need for political power. But whenever I hear someone address Jason Black or Tariq Nasheed or maybe Phil as to what the solution should be to the problems we face, whether it's our economic issues, police brutality, you get different answers. You get, get your wealth up. You know, what Tariq Nasheed would say, you got to get on code. But even as they're finding out, you can be on code, but if you don't control the city, you can have a museum and the city will have its way with you, do whatever it wants and abuse you. You can have wealth and it'll get taken from you when the authorities come after you. So those are solutions. So even those people need to understand that the political solution is the more direct, long-lasting, and potent solution. So we need leadership to like push that and disseminate that from many different levels, so people begin to understand. Because right now, depending on where you are, first, no one's thinking about the ability of Black people to have political power on that level, on the state level, or the work towards it, and what that'll actually mean for us. No one's thinking about that. But even short of that, everyone's mind is.
You said no one's thinking about that.
Not too many people. No, it's not a widely held thought. You know, if you look, people are engaged in like the American culture. They talk about sports. They talk about what's going on TV. They might talk about politics, but from the narrow frame of Democrat, Republican. They're not thinking of a separate movement of Black people working to gain autonomous political power under a constitutional system, but a power that's Black first, that benefits us, and that where we gain that power and it works solely for our benefit, and we use that power or well that power for our benefit. They think of us being folded into the greater American system, and they just want rights. They just want the system, the people that run government, to treat us well. They don't realize that we have the power to take control of, in a narrow sense, of specific states, and we can reform the system to benefit us.
Absolutely.
So we need leadership to push that idea.
Yeah, and we don't, and we won't have to like take a little piece of something and be happy with it when in fact it's actually nothing at all. So here's what we're going to do. JV, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to respond to what Muffet said. Then we're going to hear from Uncouth. Then we're going to hear from Sean, and then Black is going to close us out. Before we get to you, JV, just you guys, my YouTube channel's in the Jumbotron. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the like button, share the video. I'm not going to get rich overnight if you do it, but somebody might be enriched based on the conversation that we're having tonight. And also, if you're not a member of Funded Socially, please go to that platform and The app is free. Get in there. We had a great screening of the what is it? Back to South to Black Power. Great documentary. Get on there. The recording should be up now. You guys can watch it, especially if you don't have Max, because that costs you a little something. If you don't have Max, you can watch it. It's free. It's been recorded, and we let it run all the way through. So please do those two things, y'all. Hit the like button on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know you're there. With that being said, let's hear from JV. You're going to respond, and we're going to hear from Uncouth, then Sean, and Black's going to, or then Black Homeland, and Black will close us out. So let's go with you, JV. 2 minutes, y'all. We got a lot of hands up. We're going to wrap the show shortly.
I'm gonna do 30. I'm even gonna do 2 minutes,
That's
right?
fine.
This is what I call self-loathing, self-deprecation, low-hanging fruit. This is what I call saying we don't have this thing, but this thing is very pervasive, and I think somehow we're not recognizing that this thing is happening. I'm at 15 seconds yet. We're saying that we're not doing something with this thing that we're doing has always happened, and now we can say we're not doing it. No, that's not the issue, brother. It's not that we're not doing it. We have real serious antagonizing. This is a war of attrition. They are flanking us from every side. This is political, social, spiritual war. It's happening in real time. So to take a position of the enemy and say what we're not doing, I think you're a proxy to the enemy. Like, respectfully, in my opinion, like that's not my tangible reality. I don't accept that. I think my 30 seconds is done. Thank you so much.
All right, JV. Okay, I'm gonna let you go since you wrapping up quick. But I'm gonna tell you, I disagree with your last statement. And I think I disagree with your last statement. I think this is a large concept, and you may need to hear it multiple times before you can grasp. You may never agree with it, and that's all well and good. But everything can't be low hanging fruit. Everything can't be the work of the enemy. I mean, you understand what I mean? Like, everything cannot be that all the time, and we have to get some. And listen, let me send you a heart because you my guy. But I just got to keep it 100 with you. Everything's not low hanging fruit. And if we don't walk away with anything other than the understanding that there's a vast difference between a Black majority city, a Black majority neighborhood, and a Black majority state. There's a difference. And so if we don't understand that difference, let's make sure we understand the difference between those three. And then that positions us to have a better, more informed conversation, maybe even be able to understand some things a little bit better. But, I appreciate your input all the time, JV. Thank you for sharing. Let me see. Let's get it from Uncouth, see what you're talking about. And then Sean, and looks like both Blacks put the hand down, but go ahead. Let's hear from you, Uncouth. What's up?
Peace. Yeah, I can hear as a fellow Black man, I can hear the despair in the brother. Not even so despair. I don't want to be antagonistic, but I can definitely hear the level of concern when some of us, we feel that these concepts are slightly ambiguous, or they're not as whatever the desired outcome that they choose, that they don't feel like that it is tangible or it's obtainable. But I would preface that with this, that, like you just said, there definitely is a difference, and I think because I think the optics of the South are that there's enough Black people, it should have already been done, when in reality there's still a lot of Caucasians and a lot of non-Blacks that occupy these spaces. And like you said, there's a difference between a Black city that's in a white state, a black county that's in a white city in a white state, and there's not a Black state, period.
Come on.
Dr. Claude Anderson, the honorable, like, living legend, Claude Anderson always goes back to the whole capital POV of things, or the ideal of group economics, that being scattered, we cannot practice that.
Oh my
we
God.
cannot practice that. So when you talk about what we've done and what we haven't done, this is the thing that I think a lot of people are failing to realize. And this is no disrespect to the room.
Yeah.
When Black people were concentrated in the South, that's what churned this American engine. You know, we was out tilling soil. And we was out picking cotton.
Right.
We was being builders. But we were concentrated in one area. We weren't everywhere per se. So I think this whole concept like of this scattered brain of Black intellectualism and Black social power and all this being scattered is really what has gotten us far. Right. It hasn't. It's actually pushed us apart. And I am of the mindset, I am pro segregation, and with that mindset meaning that we have to take our bodies, we have to take our children out of these schools that are being ostracized for every which thing. We have to take our bodies and all of that away from those in which they're not our friends, they're not our allies.
Yeah.
I would also say this too. Whatever anybody's personal position is as far as what they would like to see as far as a change outside of reparations, as far as the reparative justice that we are due, and we are owed. It is not free money. A lot of the northern cities or a lot of the non-southern cities don't have these. For me, immigration would probably be at the top because they're open-ended enemies as far as employment opportunities. So when we're playing chess, or we should be playing chess in here, not checkers. You have to look at it like this: if they're going to get the jobs that you really should be getting, then your outlook of like where you are physically should more line be like where can you actually prosper financially. And if you can't prosper financially in one area, you know it may be just a ideal of picking up and actually moving, because once again, we moved for economics. Like we was in the South we were running away from the oppressive ways that we couldn't catch. Jim Crow had it locked down. We couldn't get jobs. We couldn't do this, that. So we moved to the North for those jobs. Now that the factories have closed, GM's been closed in cities. Detroit down. Look at the state of Detroit. Look at the state of these cities that were once Black booming cities. Right. So the mind it hasn't been. It's been done, but it's time to reverse that. So the conversation of this hasn't been. It's been done. So let's look at back in our history of where we were actually more alive when we had to stick together.
No, they did not scale. That's romanticizing.
No, this is fact. I'm not coming with opinion. I'm coming with when
let's not cut each other off.
When we moved, that's when the wealth, the wealth of the generation of wealth was created for the middle class. Excuse me, the middle class was created. I'll keep it real frank. The middle class was created within Blacks because we were in the industrial parts of the country. But now that industry has collapsed, we're in the technology, we're in the data space, we're in technology space, and you can be anywhere and make money. So the thing is this: if we've seen that moving in group had a impact on how this nation did its policies, how it ran its census, how it allocated funding for everything. Funding comes from people. So the more concentrated people are, that's when the funding, all funding, education, welfare, all that stuff, hurricanes, all that stuff. The more people you have, the more funding. So once again, like Mel said, I don't think some of us realize, as somebody from the South, I've been to many places. I've been to New York. I've been to a lot of Chicago. My mother's born in Chicago. All of that. But I grew up in the South, and the one thing that I can say about the South is, regardless of what the ideal of Southerners being slow, the South is very industrialized. So this whole, I'm going to lose myself because I'm in the South. It isn't like we don't have forms of communication. But when it comes to economic prowess, I would think that having a lifestyle where you're not pushing 50, 60% of your paycheck to just your living costs would be ideal to flip that. And so, like I said, group economics, Dr. Claude Anderson, he preaches that, and we can't be groupers and we all across the country. True. We really just can't. You really just can't. And I like I said, it's nothing to come against anybody. And that's just my personal thing is that we're too scattered. We need to concentrate in clusters of area and let allocation of everything.
Black bank, right?
You say what?
Bank, right?
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and fold my chair because I didn't get off the mic with anybody. I didn't get my mic off with anybody. I'm forming my opinion because I've read the book and I've studied some of the things. But I'm a student of history. So what worked in the past, it might, like these aren't things that we haven't done. We migrated from the south to the north. We've done that before. So to say it hasn't been done is kind of, this to me, is a little disingenuous. But I'll fold my chair with that.
Well, I mean, solid. I mean, you said some stuff, and that's what I'm saying. What you said before, what you said, Uncouth, I don't disagree with anything you said. And I like the way you said these things. And others have said what you said. They just said it differently as well. So this is really, I mean, this is why it's so outstanding to have a variety of voices in the conversation, even with JV expressing his, his position. Because one, you're not alone. Other people feel that way. And two, you're articulating it in such a way that people are like, yeah, damn, I ain't thought about that. And you know what? If we're all in, oh yeah, I agree with it. I agree with this black majority state migration. I would agree. Then this thing's got to be able to stand the test of questions, concerns, and doubts. But every time Black and Black Homeland and others like it, Muffet and others, they lay it down. I mean, they lay it down, they lock it down. So as I was going to wrap up, I've got more hands that came up, which is all good. JV, I'm giving you 1 minute to respond if you like, and then we're going to move to Sean.
I'll do 30 seconds.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Black banks are interchangeable with black business. We cannot scale because we have no capital. We have the same amount of capital out of emancipation at a 0. Less than 1%. So we can't do banking because we don't have the option to do fractional lending. So we have income. We do not have wealth. I'm off my mic. Figure it out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution to the conversation. The YouTube channel's in the Jumbotron, y'all. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Share this space. Share the show. Sean, let's hear from you.
I'm gonna talk kind of fast. I want Black to be able to talk. He's been itching to talk. Can we switch places, Black? Can you go? I think you're going to say something that makes what I have to say.
Well, no. Bring it out there because in that way, Black get an opportunity to address it.
All right, I'll just touch on this. Mm-hmm. I need JV and Uncouth to get with Giselle on the debate space. Schedule that. That's both you guys have some good points. I'd like to see that hashed out. JV, I don't think he never once has he pushed back against the idea of a black majority state. I always say that, okay, we can argue the strategy on how to get there, but never will we entertain arguing the principle of us governing ourselves. And he's not doing that. What I'll say to JV is this. What I think he's saying is, okay, we're saying all these great things, but we're not accounting for all the pushback we're going to get, all the dirty hand, underhead tactics are going to come our way, even up to physical violence, and like they've been doing. And what I say to JV is, you do spaces, bro. I encourage you, if you're not have already done it, to go ahead and go to Audible or get the book called Gideon's Spies, The Birth of the Messiah. Let's break that down and let's talk about how back in the 20s.
Gideon's Spies, what?
Gideon's Spies, The Birth of the Messiah. So essentially,
back channel. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I want you to do a space on that, bro. You don't have to read the whole book, just the key points. So the key things that stood out to me was this: they had the goal of having a homeland for Israel, and they were getting all type of opposition from all these other powers, particularly Palestinians. And guess the group of people that came together and said, we must have a homeland, we must protect ourselves. It wasn't the politicians, wasn't the teachers, wasn't the preachers, wasn't the religious sectors. It was their business merchant class that formed the Mossad. And it eventually wound up becoming an official government body. But it was actually just business people, pretty much just everyday people that said we need to be protected. And we need to have that. If we're going to form a black majority state, all the opposition is going to come our way. I say this time and time again, and I've really come to realize we have to decide that this is what we're going to do, and nothing's going to stop us. So we have to come up not only with countermeasures for the little dirty tricks they're going to play, but we got to preempt all that. And the only way we can do that is to being dedicated to and putting a premium on intelligence gathering and building an army of our young men and women to combat this onslaught of bullshit that we coming our way. And nothing's off the table when it comes to our power. And we have to stand on that and have to live on that. And we have to do it, not anybody else. We have to form that.
Now, Sean, say the title of the book slowly, because I heard you say Gideon Spies and something, the birth of something. Gideon Spies and what?
You can find it on Amazon, but I suggest getting the book on Audible.
Slow down, fam.
Yeah, say it slow. Just say the title.
It's called Gideon Spies, The Birth of the Messiah.
Okay.
You can find it on Audible.
Jumbotron.
Yeah, I see it
Matter
right
of fact,
here.
I'll drop on Mel Cruz. I'll drop it in your inbox, and JB, I'll drop it in your inbox. I just want to let everybody else go.
Okay,
but I want JB to do a room on that though.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And listen, and I know you said to Sean, look, let's and I mean, I want to hear from my co-host Trouble, because she always says some stuff. But here's the thing, y'all. Let's don't, and I feel what you're saying, Sean. And maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'd rather be misunderstood at this point, so you can correct me if necessary. Let's don't turn this into a battle of. Me personally, as I'm going to tell you right now, I won't come into the room if there's if we turn this into a thing. It's got to be a genuine fact finding. Hey, I've got questions about this black state migration. Can you address my concerns? That, let's don't make it a sport of, this is what I think, because then we end up focusing more on what is the negative and not the edifying piece. This has got to be, these it's critical. Let's start there. It's a critical time right now. And so anytime we have these conversations, we do need someone like JV to earnestly voice their concerns and their issues, but we don't want to turn it. And I'm not saying this is what you said, Sean. I just, I'm saying this for the people who, don't be in our spaces all the time. But we don't want to turn this into like a sport where it's like, oh yeah, what about if it's a fire? You only got 3 fire trucks, but you need 4. Do the math. We're not, It's too critical to make it one of them type of things, If you got questions and concerns, and you've got these intellects that are in this room right now, on the stage right now, and a couple that ain't on the stage, we want to use.
Real quick.
Yes.
I wasn't aware I was coming off like that. No.
No.
That's not what I was thinking.
No, you weren't, but just the short way in which. So that's why I'm on a recorded space. I'm just clarifying.
You missed the whole point, bro. You missed the whole point. She wasn't attacking you, bro.
Yeah, not at all, Sean. You already know that. Like I said, yeah.
I didn't even feel the spaces like that either. I thought everybody was pretty.
No, I'm saying for
I
the.
guess I'm missing.
No. Because I'm saying for the YouTube and the replay of the space. I don't want anyone to pick up. Yeah, let's start. Yeah, let's have a battle royale of the pros and the cons of the black state migration, because who gives a damn who agrees or doesn't agree? We know what we're agreeing. Everybody in this room knows what we down for. You see what I'm saying? And so if we're going to have these conversations, we got to make sure that they're even structured, not as a win or a lose, but hey, this is how we're going to move accordingly, because we don't, it's critical. We don't have any other choice now. And I love what, and I sure want to see you in more spaces, Uncouth, because you supported your argument very well with a lot of stuff that Claude Anderson has been saying. And one hell of a highlight you made in regard to the fact that we are separated. That's our problem. And though, if we're going to have a battle, let's battle the shit that we're not saying enough of, so we can get those pieces drilled in, because we can't get anywhere separated, because it's going to be a struggle enough to try to get well-intended individuals like that lady in Chicago to get them to, stay the course or even buy into what we're talking about. So anyway, let me get off the soapbox. Trouble, let's hear from you. Then we're going to hear from Black. Then we're going to hear from Homeland. Then we hear from you, Rella. Go ahead, Trouble. What's up, girl? And can you hear you, Trouble? Uh-oh. Is Trouble speaking, y'all, and I can't hear her? Black, let's hear from you.
I can hear you.
Drop down,
I can hear Trouble.
Yeah, I can hear Trouble.
Drop down, come back up.
Yeah, drop down, Trouble. I got to hear you, girl. Drop down and come back up, Trouble. I got to hear you.
I can hear Trouble.
I can't. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but the moderator can't hear her. So,
Yeah.
like, listen, bro.
Okay.
Y'all don't listen, bro.
All right.
Let's see. Yeah, drop down and come back up. While she's doing that, let's hear from you, Black.
Okay, man. So, I want to read something really quick because it's going to be a correction on my part. But I kind of want to go over a quick analogy for JV and anybody else who kind of may not really fully get the difference between having Black majority cities and counties or whatever. And let me say this: we cannot compare any event from the past to our current condition. It's unfair to do that to the people who actually live through it. It's actually disrespectful to them. Today we live under a completely different system. So we can't make the comparison. Let me just say that up front. So I'm gonna use school because someone was talking about school a lot. I think it was uncouth. So a town, a municipality, a borough, they have all these different names. I'm going to consider that equivalent to an elementary grade graduation. That's the level of significance of a town. A city would be a middle school or a junior high graduation, depending on what you call it in your area. The county would be equivalent to a high school graduation. A state would be a bachelor level graduation or degree, depending on how you look at it. And then the federal government would be considered the graduate or the master's degree. If you can look at this conversation in that way and make the connection in that way, then you wouldn't waste time arguing about cities, towns, and even counties. Because clearly, in the job market, if you show up with a bachelor's degree, you're going to more than likely, 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, be the person that they hire over these other degrees. I think that's the best analogy without getting into all the weeds of it. JV, you're more than welcome to come into our Saturday spaces, and we could actually go point by point, because when you throw out 20 different points in at one time, it's just, it becomes convoluted. We really need to go one point at a time, discuss it.
2 seconds. 30 seconds. Let me respond to that.
So then the other thing, no, I'm not done. I'm not done.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute.
So the other thing is solutions, right? No matter what the problem is, there's always a solution, and we should always be thinking of the solution to the problem that we come up with. So if we're presenting an anti-point to a discussion, okay, that's cool, great. You have an anti-point to the discussion at hand, but also come up with a solution to the anti-point, because what's happening is this conversation is at least 150 years old, and it's been something that our people have desired in their heart of hearts, even coming out of enslavement. This is what they desired. And so when we say that it's failed for a reason, well, the reason is clear. It's the white degenerate society that has steered us in the wrong direction, has prevented us, has stopped us. So we, as Black American descendants, Negro lineage, should want to defeat the oppressor, not simply say, oh, it hasn't worked in the past, so therefore we give up. Failure is the path to success. Like literally, there is no success without failure. So you learn from past failures, and that's how you become successful. I believe Black Americans will accomplish anything and everything we give our undivided energy and effort to. Nobody can stop us. I don't give a damn who they are. I don't care if fucking aliens come down to the planet. If we decide to give our undivided attention to anything, we will ultimately be successful. And just a correction. So I read through. I still have my copy of the Devil You Know, and so he does mention 9 states, but he also does mention these interstates. So I'm gonna read this really quickly. He says the 9 states that he lists: Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and yes, here's the correction. He does mention Delaware. He says specifically, I suggest gravitating to the major cities arranged like jewels on a chain, which dot Interstate 20, Interstate 95. Now, I'm going to stop there. It goes on a little bit longer, but here's the problem with that. Atlanta, Georgia. Everybody moved to the Atlanta metro area instead of spreading themselves out across the state. And now you have this situation where you have this concentrated population around one major metropolitan area, but you have no power across the state. We cannot do this in the way that we've done Atlanta, Georgia. We have to move out into the counties and the districts because that's how you get state power. It's not moving to these cities. We've got to spread out within the state. And I'll end on that.
That is so powerful. And also, that was definitely a highlight that was brought up in this documentary because they said when COVID came, that's when it really hit the fan where it put it in Black Americans' face. Y'all might be here in numbers, but y'all still ain't got no juice. So thank you for that, Black. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Trouble. You got the mic, sweetheart. What's up, girl?
All right, Miss Lady. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I know you're trying to close up, sister. So
Take your time. Take your time.
So in the screening of South to Black Power, Charles Blow had made a statement when a brother had asked him, and it's the same thing that Black Majority always says in his state, in his spaces, if you all decide to attend or if you have attended, that those who want to come and make this migration to the South will come. If that's what you want to do, then do that. And if you don't want to do it, then don't. Stay where you're at and make the area that you're in the greatest that you could possibly make it. There was a sister who was in Chicago and she considered moving. And then she seen a little girl outside doing something that prompted her to say, you know what, the people here need me. I'm going to go ahead and stay. But what she did in her area was she tried to empower Black folks in that area in a straight area to start buying the block basically. So if you decide to stay, no one is telling you that you have to make the migration to the South. That should never be a point that we need to argue with each other. If that's not what you want to do, then don't do it. Do what it is that your mind and your heart and your finances and your, whatever or what have you is telling you to do. But for those who is looking for a different option, this is one option. Out of many options, this is one, and this is one that a lot of us are starting to feel like is the best option. And when you decide that you are ready to leave your area, then we will be here. The infrastructure will be set. It will be done. We'll be doing what it is that we can do. There's different things that we have to try. We got to get out of this stuck mindset where we don't want to try anything new, where we want to keep doing the same things over and over and over and over again ad nauseum that has not been working. It's time to try something new. And if it doesn't work, then we sit down at the table and figure out what didn't work and what it is that we need to do to make it work. So I really just wanted to come on and state something that should have been understood, but it felt like it needed to be stated. Those who will. Those who won't. You do what you do. There was another brother, and it may have been the same brother who was in the film that said, well, if I hadn't moved out of the South. If I hadn't moved to New York, I wouldn't be the editor of the New York Times because I wouldn't have been able to do that in Louisiana. And that was an excellent point that he made as far as not staying stuck in one particular location. However, what our people have to understand is the same thing that we tell people from other nations. When you come somewhere and you learn a skill, you learn a set, you make some moves, bring it back to your people. Bring that knowledge and that scholarship with you back to your people. You could have brought that back to the South, and you could have made a New York Times in Louisiana. You could have made a newspaper or something there as hot as the New York Times was where you was at. So it's not a one or the, it is what it is.
Right.
Those who do, and those who don't won't. And I'll land right there.
Girl, you all the time, Trouble. You bring the heat all the damn time. We're going to hear from you, Rella. Got to hear from you. Got to back Trouble. I mean, come on. What's up, Rella?
Listen, every time Trouble speaks, and if you ever get her to come off the mic, it's a blessing, and it's a blessing, and some ointment laid. Listen, laid on your soul.
Come on.
And a lot of times I already know the strong arm coming with the right hand. So the crazy thing is, again, it's not a one or the other. And Trouble was right in saying that it's not an either or. It's what are you going to do to actually now solidify your ability to thrive and set that true foundation. It has nothing to do with the points of historical reference, who did what and didn't do it. We can talk about those points. Y'all can have your spaces and debates. I love the great debaters. I do. I really do, because having the conversation sparks seeds in others who have doubt. And it also allows information from people who probably feel the same way, like JV, to be exposed and also to get their conversations or their issues answered, whether or not they like the answers or not. Now, does that mean that everybody else, like Trouble was saying, is going to just kind of stick and move and stay stuck? No. It means that you can have your conversations, but don't stay stuck.
Right.
Don't stay stuck. That has been our issue. That's been our problem. We have not been actively participating in our politics other than voting. We have not been actively participating in reindustrializing our conditions in our country other than voting. Other groups of people actually live in different states, and they move around in different states for this very reason. Because depending on what they're trying to get done, they'll live in one area for half of the year, which is a requirement if you actually read some of the laws and states. And they'll live there, and then they'll vote, and then guess what? They have the numbers that they need. I think what's the woman that talks about the getting people, creating that push.
Tesla
Figaro.
There you go. And she talks about your number. And I remember when we were doing that with Marcel, trying to figure out what his number was for South Carolina. But then when you hear people who have a better, elegant, and more structured way of presenting information, you want to gravitate to those people to help others figure out what it is that we need to do. And it's not like we all can't do it. It's just we probably need to sit down, take some time to actually start to structure what it looks like. And you can still have your concerns and questions answered. It doesn't have to be a argument and a detriment or trying to run people down or nothing like that. It's really where are we trying to go? And at the end of the day, our time is precious. And I cannot spend my time on continuously just answering the one-offs. I have to keep moving, because for the rest of us who are already in that condition and mode, we can't stop the train. So you get on, you get off, you get on and stay on, cool. If you get off and you decide to get off, you made that decision as an adult.
Exactly.
And you're going to have consequences. That's all I always say. I always say consequences.
And nobody's going to hold it against you. And I'll say this too, and I want to reiterate that this is not directly to anyone in this space. This is really just because the space is recorded and we're also on YouTube. But yeah, that's my whole thing with the debate piece, because if this were set up as a debate, more than likely we wouldn't have heard the eloquent and very factual articulations from Trouble. Because girl, you laid it out. I mean, you just bust the whole damn table and cleared the whole floor in what you said. And had this been an actual debate stage and you ain't on the team, then we would have missed out on that, and that would have prevented somebody's growth. This particular topic is just too important to. But let's see. So, Homeland, your hand has been up, and I appreciate your patience so much. And you have been a major contributor to this state migration. Matter of fact, based on what we talked about earlier, Charles Blow took a bite off of your rhyme. So let's hear what you got to say, sir. What's up? You're muted, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Look, okay, I'm going to be precise, right? I'm going to be precise about this. Okay. I did a study back in 2010, 2011. And I try to figure out, where do Black people live? Where do the 48 million people back, 44 million back in those days, but I'm going to use 50 million. I found out that 80% of the Black American population, that's 80% of 50 million is 40 million, right? They live in inner urban and inner suburban areas covering 10,000 square miles. If you take the cities and you take the county where most Black Americans live, right, 80% live in 10,000 square miles. Then I said, okay, how big is 10,000 square miles? And the closest state to 10,000 square miles is Maryland. So imagine 40 million Black Americans living in the state of Maryland. Okay, so that's what we're working with, right? Now, the Black American homeland covers almost 400,000 square miles, right? Those 8 states that that I put out back in 2011, 2012, is North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, right? And South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Now, when I met Gray, I added Delaware, then I added Maryland and Virginia, and then I had so many people talking about Florida. I said, okay, I'm gonna add Florida. So those are the 12 states. Now, the key to understanding how the United States works is you have to understand the U.S. Constitution, right? And I read the Federalist Papers, right? I learned about the 10th Amendment, right? And the 10th Amendment reads, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectfully, or to the people, right? So the two government entities that have power is the federal government and the 50 states. That's it. There's no other government entity that has U.S. constitutional power. Now, our 50 million Black American population, we're too small to take control of the federal government. However, we are large enough to take control of several states, right? Because, the states are small. Some are 3, some are 4 million, 5, 10 million, whatever. So if we can take control of those states, right, elect our governors, take control of the state legislature, if we can take control of the court system, imagine taking control of a state Supreme Court where we have, 6, 8, or 9 Black governors, making decisions on the state constitution, right? If we control a state, we can rewrite the state constitution, right? We'll have a person that is a secretary of state. The secretary of state, they make rules on elections. So it is so many, and all the agencies, we talk about the school system, we talk about the state police, the local police, the local courts. I mean, it is so many agencies and state institutions that once we take over our population, we can empower ourselves when we take control of these institutions. So I'm going to end there, guys. I appreciate it, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's it for me.
And thank you so much. Shout out to Welsing that just pulled up in the chat. Welsing, listen, you didn't miss a whole lot because the screening was done over on socially funded. So that, I believe that recording is up, and you should get it. And girl, it's just awesome. This space, even though it's recorded here, it's also on YouTube. So so you didn't miss a lot. But I'm telling you, we covered some ground. I just really want to shout out everybody that pulled up and contributed to the conversation. As usual, we always hit it out the ballpark when y'all pull up. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and I'm so comfortable with the direction that this thing is going in, especially about the dissemination of the information. And something that Black said about this being like a divine move here with a major platform of Charles Blow being able to have this conversation and really articulate a lot of the things that Black and the Homeland have been saying. So, there's not much divergence from, their both arguments. So that part is positive. I do want to thank all three of the co-hosts that we had at some point in the show. Any last words from Trouble or One Love Rella?
Trouble, you want to go?
Nope, just wanted to say it was a great space. It was a great screening, and appreciate everybody thumping through. Much love.
Absolutely.
And I second that. This space was wonderfully moderated. Mel, we have so much admiration for you. Thank you for carrying the mantle as you always do. Shout out to everyone in this space that showed up. Black American Homeland and Black Majority State. Thank you, brothers, for standing in the gap, and to all of our wonderful Black men and women who are descendants who decide to rise up and actually take initiative for what we need. Shout out to Muffet and so
Uncouth,
and Sean,
and Sean,
Yusef, down in the quiet. Everybody in this space. There's so many of us at this point. I'm like, y'all gonna have to give me a list.
Right. Exactly. And shout out to everybody. If you, whoever is in this space, y'all go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, please, and hit the like button and share the video so we can get more voices in this conversation. Because I'm not going to lie. If I was giving away an award tonight, I'm going to be honest with you. Uncouth would get it. Because Uncouth broke some shit down and supported his argument with, oh my God, man, you just swept the flow up. And well, it might be a tie because Trouble, you came through and said, wait, hold up. Those that will. And those that won't, don't. You sounded like that one lady out of the Matrix. What they call her? I can't remember the name, but go on, Trouble. You always do.
You talking about the Oracle.
Yeah.
You talking about the Oracle.
She was
absolutely. Yeah, I would have to give it to the Uncouth, too. That brother came through, as he always do in any space that I hear him in, and he comes through with them facts and he comes through with that undisputable fire, and I be waiting for him to take the mic. I ain't even gonna lie.
I'm saying, so it's just some good cooking going on tonight, and I'm trying to lose weight from all this good Thanksgiving. So, yeah, but I just appreciate everybody, and I was really, and special shout out to Black for partnering with me and bringing this to my attention, and us being able to really run this screening over there on Funded Social, because that was lit. Okay, it was lit, and there's more coming.
Excuse me, you're saying that you have the actual. When I was on here, I was just listening to the video, the audio. I didn't really see I didn't see the actual movie.
Yeah, the entire documentary was screened on Funded Socially, and it's recorded. Okay. Yeah, you should be able to go right in there now and watch it. And here's the thing, you got to pay for that documentary. So that's we paid, so you wouldn't have to. How about that? So. Sign in, log in, download, get involved with Funded Socially, get on there, watch this documentary, and see what's up. And we're going to be back at it again. There's no doubt about it. So, and shout out to JV for bringing a dissenting voice, because that's the only way we're going to improve, by addressing those concerns. So that's it. That is the podcast, y'all. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, Replay Gang, leave a comment. I want to hear from you. And until next time, y'all, we will see you when we see you. Welcome to the Only Male Cruz Show, the We Own Your Head podcast. Discussing topics that make you say, how and where can we improve as a society? From a Black American's perspective. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Catch this live, be ready to speak. This is a call-in show. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, Replay Gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Let's go to work.